nothing comes up yet. Yes, fantastic. Right, Make All Things Connected. It's a great title. But fundamentally, we've been connecting forever, connecting people in master plans, we've been connecting people with routes and spaces and nodes. So it's not something new, it's just another extension of how we can join and connect spaces together from the master plan and also into buildings. So buildings we're designing now are blurring all the lines. We're trying to blur all the links, all the spaces from residential, hotels, office, retail, try and get it all blurred together. These projects are trying to connect and combine and join these buildings and these spaces together. But also, we've got to also mustn't forget about a sense of place. We've got to create something which everybody talks about, authenticity. There's also something about understanding and enjoying and celebrating history, the historical, the past, and bringing that forward into the future and taking that part out of designs. So that's what we're all doing now. And then also, we've got technology. This is our Big Data Institute. It's the first one in the world, done for Oxford University, where they're bringing in all the data that's rushing around everywhere and trying to understand what does it mean, understand how to use it, and how, in some respects, to control it so it doesn't control us. And what we're finding that we're changing the way we think about things a little bit. Now when we do master plans, we look into tweets. So this is the Twitter hotspots in London. And we're using that information to inform how we design. Another tool, another element of design. So you've got the red hotspots, you've got the big arteries going through, but also you've got lots of white spots in the suburban London where nobody's tweeting at all. So there's also something to understand about generation, about what the people are and how they're using technology. We work a lot with Atelier 10. Atelier 10 are sustainable engineer in Singapore, and they did gardens in the bay in Singapore. And what I loved about this project is that they connected that garden through to all the parks in Singapore, so all the waste, all the clippings and the waste debris from the parks are brought to Singapore, and that's used to power this garden. So again, connections, understanding what's available and what they can use is so important. And then we can develop these master plans. This is a project in Hong Kong, and it's doing as much as we can. It's doing all the usual things about roof gardens, photovoltaics, rainwater collection, waste collection. But now there's also the smart apps. It's all about connecting you to your trains, connecting you to your cars and your taxis, but also connecting yourself to the spaces, the communal spaces, the facilities within the development. And that's what's really, really exciting, that this real-time apps that you can join up and connect people together. So you go beyond congestion, and we can then suddenly create more interest. This is an MTR station we're doing. A more relaxing, a more green, a more enjoyable way of transport, because people understand when things are congested, they keep away. They can plan their journeys. And what I really like is, again, all about energy, about electric charging and electric cars, and sharing that across people. This was done in 1910, a 1,000-mile endurance run on an electric car. It didn't win, but it made it. And that technology has been around for so long, we should just grab it and bring it into our designs. And of course, with travel, you think, why do you need to go travel? Why do you need to go anywhere? You could create these virtual workplaces within your development, which has connections to your office, your main office, connections to your management or your managers, but also connections with your colleagues. So you don't need to travel. You can stay at home, you can go to your coffee shop, you can go somewhere else. So again, that releases and eases transportation from our big cities. Fundamentally, cities are growing. Fundamentally, we know that the transport infrastructure is trying to catch up. It's trying to expand, to allow people to work within cities, but it can't keep up. And so one of the inevitable and not very nice trends is the way that the apartments are shrinking. A couple of years ago, in Hong Kong, 400 square feet was the standard apartment. Now it's going down to 200 square feet. And how can you manage that? How can people live with a space which is continually shrinking? The way we're approaching that is to try and create shared facilities, trying to understand that you can't live in this small space anymore. You need to expand and take over spaces which were once car parks, that were once derelict areas, to create these shared spaces where you can join, you can collaborate, and you can share. And that's really exciting. I think that's really interesting, that now that people are stepping out of their apartments and coming down into these shared facilities. And as these shared facilities, as more people use these shared facilities, then the opportunities grow, the opportunities become more important and more interesting, and the possibilities are really, really interesting. And we can then create very interesting spaces, way beyond what could be done within your apartment, within your four walls, and then creating this idea of sharing and collaboration. Creating these ideas of professional kitchens that you can share, that you can book. The rooftops of buildings become public so everybody can enjoy the view. So everybody starts stepping outside of their domain, outside their castle of four walls, and start meeting and sharing and meeting people. And we think this is really interesting, the fact that we're enabling people to share, to collaborate, to meet their neighbours, invite their friends over, not to their home, but to these shared spaces that you can book and you connect. And that all works with the smart devices, so you know what's available, what you can book, what you can use, and what you can, that is available that you can take over. And so you can create these beautiful lounges, which are not in your living room anymore, but downstairs, where you can have these meeting spaces that you can share people, meet people, and you can suddenly create, we're hoping, communities to compensate for this very shrinking environment that we're living in. And we can go a step further. We can then argue this becomes a more healthy way of living. So you live together, you work together, you collaborate, you meet, you share, you meet generations. And if our buildings can do more of that, we think this is a great advantage, or tries to offset the disadvantages of our shrinking personal space. And I think this is all through the idea of accessibility of the apps, of the knowledge of what you can see and what you can receive on your phone. And so you can create these incredible spaces that are true community spaces, all linked together with apps. And of course, you can go one step further. You can become much more personal. This is Kevin Warwick, a Reading University professor, and he did Project Cyborg, where he inserted that chip into his arm, and then that controlled his world a little bit. It controlled the lifts, it controlled the lights in his office, it switched on the air conditioning. It's a little bit too far, probably, a little bit painful, but now you can wear these wearable devices that not only can monitor health, but also help control your environment a little bit more to make sure that the lighting, the temperature is correct. But also, when you're not there, it turns everything off. So again, you can save the energy and save the world. Well, I think the hotel was a very interesting part of what we're doing. We're creating, this is our hotel in Chengdu, Temple House. So we're creating these beautiful, serene spaces that you can escape to enjoy. But then also now to bring in technology so that you can start connecting of where you are and what you're doing. So the project, which I'm just about to show you, is a new project we're doing in Hong Kong where we're embracing all the smart apps and all the technology, but also we're trying to bring a little bit of enjoyment, as Josh said, enjoyment and celebration of where you are. So this, hopefully the video will start. I'll try again. Yeah, so this is a hotel room. It's called the Smart Room, and it's right on the coast. You look out the window, and you see the seas, the South China Sea, and you see all these ships, and you see all these cargo ships flowing past your windows. And what we're doing, we're tracking those onto our digital wall. So all those lines of the ships that you see outside, so you can look out the window, you can compare it back to the wall in your hotel room, and this beautiful abstract piece of art follows the ships outside. So if you want to learn a bit more, if you want to know where that ship is gone, where it's going, you can click on it and see where it's been. Because what we think is what's nice is turning all this information that's bombarding into us and turning it into something that you can address, you can interrogate if you want to, or it could just be a beautiful backdrop. As well as our smart room, which has all the technology like drop-down projection screens and TVs, and apps that will welcome you when you walk through the door, and apps that will tell you where you went last time, what you saw last time, what's new, what might interest you in the future. But then I think this wall of linking you where you are and the place where you are in Hong Kong is just as important and just as beautiful and just as exciting as having all that connection. Of course, it opens up about privacy and security and all those things which we do need to understand and address. But it's trying to take all this information that's around us and turn it into something which is useful, beautiful, that you can ignore or you can engage in it, we feel is a very interesting way of moving forward with the design. And I think my final image is drones. We mustn't forget drones. Drones are going to transform what we're doing and the way we're going. From buildings, from delivery, from bringing information to us, transporting us across cities and across places. So I think that's going to transform our cities into something super exciting and very interesting. I think I've got 2 minutes to go, so I've done really well. Thank you.